everyone and welcome back to LewisFiction and welcome to episode 2 of Spider-Man, the new animated series, aka MTV Spider-Man. If you have not seen the first episode, make sure you go back and watch that before you watch this. With that being said, we're almost at 5,000 subscribers on this channel, so if you love fanfictions and Spider-Man stories, then make sure to subscribe, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to that goal. I want to reach it by the summer. With that being said, let's get straight into this. We will kick off this episode with Peter contemplating to himself, after what happened at Alchemax and with Eddie and Gwen being in danger, not to mention not being able to stop the Vulture and save Tyler Stone. Is it really right that Spider-Man stays gone? This is when he starts to once again get flashes of Indy, reminding him of the reason as to why he quit in the first place. Spider-Man stayed gone because it was the best for everyone. What happens then? He puts the mask back on and just waits until someone else dies close to him? Not gonna happen, Peter will think to himself. We will then take some time at the start of this episode to catch back up with Mary Jane Watson. We will do a deep dive into MJ's character and what it's been like since Peter started distancing himself from her. MJ's acting career is going great, but she still has that empty seat, reflecting over what she has lost now that Peter is absent. She should be happy, but she isn't. She's concerned, but she doesn't know how to express her feelings. This is when MJ runs into Peter at ESU campus. It's maybe been a week or two since they last spoke, and MJ really tries in this interaction. She tries to ask him how he was, but Peter is trying to disconnect himself from that part of his life, and is really blunt with her. It's almost rude, and he doesn't feel like he can talk to her the same way he used to. MJ will tell Peter that she's got a show coming up, and she would love for him to come. MJ sees this maybe as a way to reconnect with him. She offers him a ticket. Peter can't say no, that's not the kind of person he is, so begrudgingly says yes. Peter holds his head down as MJ hands him the ticket and walks off, saying that she'll see him there. Peter carries on with his day, thinking to himself, what is he going to do? He can't be honest with her, but it hurts him too much because she reminds him of that part of his life. That part of his life that Peter is so trying desperately to run from. Peter then carries on with his day when he bumps into none other than Gwen Stacy. Peter, Eddie and Gwen and many of the other Alchemax employees will have been let off for a few weeks while the building gets repaired, and while the Tyler Stone case is still being looked into. Peter and Gwen will catch up with each other as they grab a coffee together. They will talk generally about what happened, and Peter will ask if Eddie's okay, and Gwen says that she doesn't really know, she hasn't really spoken to him. Peter is confused at first, thinking that they were closer than that, when Gwen will reassure him that they aren't. They will talk more about what happened, and Gwen will say that she doesn't really know if they'll find Tyler. She'll say that she's heard of things like this happen before, to people in the city, and they never end up being alive in the end. She will then refer back to what happened to Indy, as it made citywide news. This will hit Peter slightly, but he will try to the best of his ability to cover up his emotional response. Gwen, however, will notice something's off. She can read Peter's body language very well. Peter will tell Gwen that he knew Indy pretty well, and Gwen will say that she's sorry. Peter will say it's fine, she was just a really good friend. Gwen holds her head down, but sympathizes with Peter, saying that she lost her dad recently as well. They'll both sit down on a park bench together, and along with the chemistry that they clearly have with one another, this will be the big first emotional connection we start to see between these two characters. Gwen will go on to tell Peter that her father worked in the police force, Captain Stacy, who sadly passed away on the front lines, fighting to the very end. The conversation eventually switches over to Spider-Man. Gwen will tell Peter that her dad was one of those people that loved heroes. He loved people who stood up and fought for what was right. And he saw the type of person Spider-Man was before Indy's death. He saw what Spider-Man did for all of those years before she died. And he believes that Spider-Man was innocent all this time. She will say that she knows Peter probably doesn't want to hear that, but that was the type of person her dad was, and he was really special, especially to Gwen. Gwen's dad always saw the best in people. He also maybe saw things that people didn't. And Spider-Man, he believed, was one of those good people that no matter what the reports said. It's a shame that he was gone too soon. A positive influence on the world. As Peter holds his head up and looks towards Gwen, Gwen will say, now that Spider-Man's gone, Tyler might never come back. Gwen will say that if her dad were here, he would have fought for everything to get Spider-Man back out there. And this is where Peter sat there and contemplated. What Gwen is saying is true. What Gwen's dad stood for is right. Whatever happens to Tyler now could be on Peter because he isn't willing to do anything. Before Peter had chance to ponder more on this situation, Gwen switches up the conversation to something a little less depressing. She asks Peter if he wants to take a walk, and Peter says of course. Peter all the while thinking about what Gwen said. Spider-Man is the only one who can stop the Vulture. With great power comes great responsibility. no matter what. And that's a lesson that Peter was taught from a very young age, a lesson that will always stick with him. This is the point in the episode where Peter's mindset is really conflicted, as we then cut to a scene where Peter heads to the Hudson River later in that day, where he threw the briefcase in with the Spider-Man suit last season. He looks out as he questions, is this the right decision after all this time? However, he'll get more flashes of Indy and her death, constantly reminding him of the pain that he went through. No, he has to do this because Tyler Stone could suffer the same fate. It isn't about what Peter wants. It's about what's best for the city. It's about what's best for other people. With great power comes great responsibility, and that is a lesson that he'll never forget. And then we cut to a montage of Peter looking through old boxes and junk in the attic of his apartment when he comes across a box called Ben/May's old house stuff. He opens the box to see a red and blue homemade suit from when he first became Spider-Man inside. He puts it on and swings dramatically through the city. During the time in which Vulture had Tyler Stone captured, he had carried on robbing banks and causing petty theft around the city. Peter arrives upon a crime scene taking place, hoping it's the Vulture, and to his delight, it was. However, Peter didn't engage, hoping to follow him back to his hideout. However, Peter is rusty and isn't good at this as he used to be. Whilst trying to crawl on the ceiling, Peter accidentally makes a noise. The Vulture swiftly turns around and notices Spider-Man. He fires blades from his wings and Spider-Man has to dodge out of the way. However, the blades almost catching him in the process, showing Peter's rustiness. The Vulture charges at Spider-Man to get out of his way as he was standing in the doorway. Spider-Man flips over the Vulture and webs his foot, flying outside. The Vulture increases his altitude as Spider-Man looks down over the city. A slight sense of fear raises over him. He can tell he hasn't done this in a while. The Vulture sends more blades Spider-Man's way. Spider-Man, trying to dodge out the way, releases from the foot of the Vulture, sending him hurtling towards the streets of New York. Spider-Man uses all of his might, spewing webs into a parachute, getting him to the ground safely, as the Vulture races off into the distance. If Peter is to find where he's keeping Tyler Stone, he needs a different plan. We then cut to Peter hanging out in his room. Peter sits back on his chair, throwing a Rubik's Cube into the air as he thinks. But then, he quickly jolts up with an idea. He goes onto his computer and does some research on all the places that the Vulture has robbed. His thought process at this moment in time runs along the lines of the fact that the Vulture seemed very quick to get away, almost as if he was on some kind of time limit. This leads Peter to think that maybe his Vulture mech suit might actually have some kind of battery life. Peter on a map looks into all of the places that the Vulture has robbed thus far, and they are all within a radius that generally doesn't exceed a few miles. Peter is right on the money, as he realizes that his mech suit must have a battery. I mean, if it didn't, why would he need to run so quickly? This automatically narrows down the possible places where Vulture could be hiding out. Peter swiftly jolts up out of his chair, reaching for his mask, when he sees the ticket to MJ's show, also lying on the side of the desk. He closes his eyes and sighs. Great excuse, he'll think to himself, as he leaves it lying there, jumping out of the window, swinging off into the distance. We cut to Peter in his homemade Spider-Man suit, searching around the possible places where Vulture could be hiding out. That's when he sees something fly from the corner of his eye, from a building in the distance. Bingo, Peter would think to himself. It's the Vulture. He doesn't want his presence to be known just yet. First, set out to what he came to do. The whole reason he put the mask back on was because of the potential that Tyler Stone could get hurt, and he was just sitting around doing nothing about it. If anything is to come out of Spider-Man's return, he will make sure that Tyler Stone is okay first and foremost. Spider-Man enters the building that the Vulture came from and starts to look around. We then cut to MJ's show. She seems perkier than usual, and the whole cast can see this. She is jumpy and kind of excited. She almost seems like her old self again. However, as the clock goes on, and as the show almost comes to a start, she looks towards the seats in the audience. The seat that she had reserved for Peter is still not filled. This isn't the first time that this has happened. Why should she be surprised that it has happened again? He isn't showing, she'll think to herself. A wave of rage then comes over MJ. What is wrong with him? All MJ tries to do is be there for him, but all he does is push her away. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get him, she'll think to herself. As we cut back to Peter searching the Vulture's hideout. He continues searching around for a while before finding an entrance to an underground complex full of equipment and tech. Peter eventually finds a room with a locked door, and through a crevice in the window of the door, Peter could see Tyler Stone on the other side. With a kick of brute force, Peter shoves the door to one side as it catches Tyler off guard. Tyler cowers in the corner, saying not to hurt him, and Spider-Man says he's not here to hurt him. He's not here to hurt anyone, he's here to save him. But before he could get him out of there, they both heard a noise from upstairs. He's back, Tyler will say. Peter gets into a fighting position as the Vulture sees Peter after entering through the elevator shaft. He will swipe at Spider-Man with his wings once again. Spider-Man will ask what he wants with Tyler Stone, and the Vulture will tell Spider-Man that he stole from him. All he wants is what is rightfully his. Spider-Man quippingly hits back with, "Have you ever tried going to the police, or maybe not doing something entirely illegal for once?" This furiously enrages Vulture as he continues swiping at Spider-Man. Peter will think to himself he can't get too close. His mech suit will rip straight through him. But if his theory is right, and his suit has some kind of limited battery life, all he has to do is play the waiting game. Spider-Man dodges for a few more minutes until the Vulture cowers away, trying to reach the elevator. Spider-Man notices this as he retreats. Spider-Man webs the Vulture's back, not letting him go. The Vulture angrily tries to dislodge Spider-Man, but it's no use. Vulture's suit starts to power down, and it's all but lost for Adrian Toomes. Spider-Man finally wins. We cut to after the dust has settled. Spider-Man leans on a building from above, watching the Vulture get escorted into the back of a police van. We cut to Tyler Stone, who is getting bombarded with reporters asking him what happened and what the Vulture wanted with him. But he stays quiet, not wanting to answer any of their questions, rather suspiciously almost. Peter watches on as he leans on the side of Alchemax, watching Gwen and Eddie celebrate being able to come back to work from inside, as Tyler walks into the building, greeting them. Peter will say, "At least they're safe. At least Tyler's safe." God knows what the Vulture would have done to him if Spider-Man hadn't intervened. God knows what he wanted with him. It doesn't matter now. He's safe. Everyone is safe. Peter takes his mask off and holds it out in front of him. As he continues to get flashbacks of Indy's death, Peter closes his eyes and grits his teeth. Despite doing the right thing, the pain is no less as we close our episode there. Thanks for watching episode 2 of MTV Spider-Man Season 2. My continuation of the show. If you're enjoying the series so far, make sure to hit a like on it. And also make sure to subscribe for more fanfictions. As I said, on this channel specifically, we are so close to 5,000 subscribers. I would love if we could get to that goal by the summer. That would be absolutely awesome. Make sure to stay tuned for episode 3 coming next Sunday. Hopefully you're all excited for that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.